Hey there, motorcycle enthusiasts. Welcome to Do You Ride, the ultimate podcast that takes you on a thrilling journey through the fascinating world of motorcycles. With your host, Marvin Gibson, your guide on this high-octane adventure. Whether you're a seasoned rider or just revving up your interest in bikes, this is the place to be. On Do You Ride, we're diving deep into the heart and soul of the biking community. From the roar of the engines to the camaraderie on the open road, we'll explore it all. Get ready for an adrenaline-fueled exploration of club culture, the thrill of bike rallies, and the breathtaking experiences that come with hitting the road on two wheels. But it's not just about the ride, it's about the rider. We'll share stories of passion, the sense of freedom that comes with each twist of the throttle, and the unique challenges faced by bikers. So gear up and join us every week as we embark on a journey through the wind, the curves, and the undeniable spirit of the motorcycle world. This is Do You Ride? Join your host, Marvin Gibson, and together, we're going to explore what it truly means to ride.
All right, y'all. Welcome to the first edition, the first podcast, post, the first whatever you want to call it. My name is Marvin Gibson. I'm going to be your host for the new podcast called Do You Ride? What we're going to do, we're going to talk a little bit about what this podcast is about, what we stand for, the motorcycle culture, road trips. We're going to get into a little bit of everything on this podcast. I got to learn to get my voice right, so bear with me. I hope y'all understand that this is my first one. Of course, Michael Jordan didn't become Michael Jordan by shooting his first jump shot. So work with me as I grow with this podcast. Of course, I'm going to learn things. I'm going to figure things out. I'm going to understand what to do and what not to do. I just hope y'all stay along for the process. I hope y'all get a lot of information out of this podcast. We're talking to a lot of different people in this motorcycle world. So we just going to start with introducing myself. My name is Marvin Gibson. Everybody call me Gip. My club name is Bear. I just kind of been in the motorcycle world since a kid. I started riding motorcycles, in 1988. I started with a Honda Z50R, the little mini bike back in the days. And I've been riding ever since. I done rode a little bit of everything from crotch rockets to baggers to four-wheelers, 4x4s, RZ, just anything motorcycles I can tell you about, I can talk to you about, I can understand, because that's always been my passion. Motorcycles, anything outdoors, that I'm all for it. I want my listeners, what y'all can expect from this podcast is just motorcycle culture. We all have a lot of talks. Everybody got a different story. Everybody done been through a different thing in this motorcycle world, and we here to teach each other. Like they say, each one teach one. We want to be able to feed off each other. We want to be able to learn off each other. And what I mean by learn off each other, if you know something about a custom part, or something about a motor, big block, whatever, you know anything about motorcycles, share the information. We trying to reach a demographic of people that's going to be willing to, open up and be forthcoming with the information they have. We don't want no gatekeeper. We don't want to, we don't want this to be about drama and beef. On this podcast, you ain't gonna hear me talking about nobody, and I'm not gonna allow nobody on this podcast to come on to talk about nobody. We keeping this strictly motorcycle related. We keeping it strictly positive, and we just trying to grow a community of people that's willing to just, put their best foot forth and enjoy the culture. What y'all can expect, just different things in my background. I'm gonna talk about myself. We go talk about things that's done happen on the road. We go talk about stuff that can be better in the motorcycle culture. We go talk to a couple guys in a couple different clubs. see the difference in what they do and what others do. We just go have fun with this. Like I said, my journey started as a kid. I started riding motorcycles in '88. I'm 45 years old, so I'm still considered the tadpole in a Harley world. Because, back then in '88, '90s, we wasn't thinking about no Harleys. And it's becoming a big culture in the young kids' world now. Like, I know far as the people I be around and the people I associate with, people would much rather buy a bagger now as opposed to buying a Suzuki or Kawasaki or something like that. Back when I was coming up, we wanted the crotch rockets. We wasn't thinking about no Harleys. But now I think that time has kind of changed. I think even Harley is kind of adapting to the change with what they coming out with, as far as how they dressing up their motorcycles, as far as the things that you can purchase for your motorcycle now. I think everybody is adapting to change. Nothing stays the same forever. And I think everybody's picking up on that. I want my listeners to have a lot of engagement, because this podcast is going to solely be based off, the information that we bounce off each other. I'm not ever going to sit here and claim that I know everything, regardless of how long I've been riding, where I've ridden to, who I've met, what I've done. I'm still learning. Day in, day out, somebody can teach me something new every day. I can go somewhere to an event and talk to somebody and learn something totally new that I never even knew or understood or thought about. And that's what we want to do. We want to bounce off each other. I want y'all to engage with me just like I would be engaging in y'all. So I want y'all to, check out the YouTube channel, which is CVO Moby, or check out the Instagram page, which is CVO Moby. Like, I want y'all comments. I want y'all to, even if I say something that you feel like is wrong or you don't agree with, I want you to put it in the comments so we can have an open discussion. This ain't about no beef. It ain't about no falling out. This just about, motorcycle enthusiasts just having conversations. So I want y'all to engage and talk and conversate and be able to say what's on your mind when it comes to that time. And we go get through this and have fun. We go talk about a lot of different stuff on this show, upcoming shows. We go talk about, the history of motorcycle clubs. We go talk about, riding solo versus riding with a group. We go talk about must attend motorcycle events. Like, what's some places that you definitely know is on your riding schedule year after year, events that for sure you go show up and you go attend and have a good time. We go talk about motorcycle safety tips. We go talk about safety gear. What type of gear do you pack in your saddlebags, and what do you feel like is necessities that you should always keep on your motorcycle? And we go talk about how you plan your trips and destinations you pick and things of that nature. We just go get into the whole world of motorcycles. That's just my passion. That's what I've always loved. And I just felt like if I created this channel or this podcast, quote unquote, that I can reach a broad spectrum of people that I never felt that I could reach just in my local city. I want to reach out worldwide, because we all do things different. White, black, Hispanic, overseas, Egypt, India, like everybody has a different motorcycle culture. I seen in Japan that they was riding these souped up scooters with all this crazy stuff on it, and that's their culture over there. And it was actually kind of cool. Like, I didn't know you can do all that stuff on a scooter or with a scooter, but I learned that, and I was looking at a couple YouTube videos on it, and it's something very, very big over there. So, like I said, this journey is about us. This is not no me thing. This is not no you thing. It's a we thing, and we go learn. We go travel around to different dealerships. We go talk to different service techs. We go talk to people in the Harley world that can give us the information that we all have questions for. We go talk about upcoming releases of bikes. We go talk about bikes that's being released in the past. The good, the bad, the ugly. We go get into all that. We go talk about must-hit destinations where you ride out of town. What's some of your favorite stops What's some of your favorite food places? What's some of the things that you like to do when you ride to different cities? What hotel is going to be good to stay at? We go just kind of touch on a little bit of everything. We go keep it going. Like I said, the most important thing is engagement. I want all y'all to feel like y'all got a voice. I'm a country guy, so excuse my accent. I got a little country swing or whatever you want to call it. So it may be hard to understand certain words that I pronounce, but you can figure it out. Hopefully, you don't come with the nasty comments and stuff, because I'm ready to defend myself if I have to. You know what I mean? It's just what it is, because we know this is the internet, and we know people go say what they say. We know people go have a comment. We know people go be nasty, and ain't nothing we can do about that. You just got to be built for it. You got to be tough. You got to be able to let that roll off your skin. But in the same sense, we get too personal, then I know how to get personal back. But again, like I said, this channel ain't for that. This ain't what we here for. We didn't come to, open up that can. We didn't come to introduce that. We came to be strictly positive. We go talk about, health in motorcycles, like, mental health, and, what riding can do for your health, and, riding while you got health issues going on. Me, myself, I had plenty of health issues going on that was preventing me from taking long distance rides and stuff, and I still have health issues going on, and, we'll get into all that. Like I said, this is the first episode. I'm kind of just introducing the podcast, introducing myself, kind of trying to give you an idea what we're going to be discussing, different topics that we go talk about, points of interest, places that we need to ride to, places that we need to check out, different events, motorcycle rallies, sound competitions, customizing bikes, or whether you don't customize your bikes, getting the highway ready for, cross-country trips, riding in bad weather, riding in hot weather, different things we can do for our bikes to, prevent any of all accidents or mechanical issues, voiding warranties, all that stuff. So again, I hope y'all tune into this podcast. Like I said, this is my first one. So I'm going to try to learn how to do this myself, as far as editing, cutting clips, just putting it together, formatting, getting the sound quality right, everything that we need to work on. I'll open for all advice, or whatever y'all feel like y'all can share with me that's going to help this podcast grow. I'm all ears. I'm listening. This is not my podcast. This is our podcast. You got something to say, you give me a time and date that you want to get it off your chest. I schedule a time that we can do a phone call or a Zoom call, and you can be on the podcast, because, we have the equipment to where we can bring folks in on a conversation, where we can video and bring you in if you have something to say about a topic that we discussed in a previous podcast, and you want to, have your spiel, or you may have experienced something a different way. We want you to call in and talk about it. Don't hold nothing back, because something you may want to get off your chest, or something you may want to say, or something you may have experience with, it may be the same thing that somebody else across this world wants the answer to. And if you got the answer to it, put it out there. We want everybody to share the same knowledge. We want everybody to be on the same page. We want everybody to have the same outlook. Like I said, this is strictly the motorcycle community trying to reach out and touch each other. If you come into my city, which I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, and you coming from Cali to North Carolina, and I can provide you a place to stay, or I can give you some information about some places to go, some good eateries, or, if you want to bed down and go hang out at this bar or a cigar lounge, we want to share all that information through this podcast. We want to be able to, receive people coming into our city, show them a good time, ride with them out the city. If they going keep on pushing through or whatever. We just want to engage with them, talk with them, have a good time, learn different things, because this motorcycle culture, you can meet a lot of people. And I'm talking about, the guys that still riding in their 70s or 80s to the guys coming up and just not getting started. Like, it's wisdom and knowledge out there for all of us if we just willing to accept it and understand it. We don't know all things. I definitely don't know everything. Like I said earlier, I learn every time I go to an event and talk to somebody, and I'm eager to learn. I never go into this motorcycle culture thinking I got all the answers, because I definitely don't. Even when I joined my motorcycle club, protocol, different things that we was doing, different steps that we was taking, I didn't know nothing about all that. I decided to step away from the club because I felt like I didn't want to be tied to one organization when I'm out here, shaking hands with a lot of different people. And I can tell you that this motorcycle culture, they do have different clubs that just don't fool with other clubs for whatever reason. That's not my business. Again, we not gonna get into all that type of hoopla and stuff. But when I stepped away from the club, it was strictly because I felt like, what? I'm a people person. I'm cool with everybody. I ain't got no enemies. I ain't got no beef. And I'm not gonna let motorcycle club beef become my personal beef, because if you don't like this person, I don't know what y'all got going on, but in the same sense, it's like, hey, I'm cool with everybody until you push me to that level. We all gotta handle ourselves. We all gotta handle our own responsibilities. So if you push me to that level and then we deal with some type of issue, I'm gonna deal with directly you. It ain't about the club. It's about me as a man. So again, when I stepped away, clean. All the fellas knew what I was doing, trying to build this podcast and building a lot of different things I got going on behind the scenes that calls for the motorcycle culture, not just one in particular club. So I didn't want to be under that umbrella of being attached to one particular club when, like I said, it's hundreds of clubs out here that I talk to at different events, different places. I support every motorcycle club. I don't care what your rules are, your bylaws, or none of that. It has nothing to do with what we trying to do on this podcast. So again, we go try to make this a weekly thing. We go try to come out with podcasts on a weekly basis. We go try to stay active on social media and really just kind of engage with you all through, I guess, Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. Like I said, my YouTube is CVO Moby. Instagram is CVO Moby. TikTok is CVO Moby. I don't too much do the Facebook stuff because, Facebook is one of those places I always look at like that's where we have a lot of family and friends and childhood people that we grew up with that really don't have nothing to do with the motorcycle world. So I never involved Facebook. Facebook is really something I just use when I want to get a message to a family member or a friend or something like that. But as far as this motorcycle culture, we out here on a different type of time. And I use TikTok, I use Instagram, I use YouTube. Well, I don't even use YouTube really because I just created that just to go along with this podcast. I was always told that you need to upload videos. Like I'm sitting here recording now as I'm speaking to y'all on the podcast, but I'm recording as well. Honestly, my honest opinion about this, I feel crazy. I feel kind of like weird that I'm looking at the camera, not talking to nobody that's in the studio with me, but I'm still talking. And like I said, it's just something I'm gonna have to get used to. We all know, Gen Zs and stuff like that, the millennials and everybody, like they used to this kind of, technology, I guess you could say base world. I was always, against social media, and I was always the ones that say, social media, I ain't gonna fool with it. But to be honest, to all the listeners out there, if you ain't on social media in some form or fashion, you behind, because business itself, everything these days flow through social media. So you have to have some type of connection with social media to where you can reach people on a broader basis. And that's why this podcast was one of the ones that I was like, okay, well, let me do a podcast. I ain't really cool with shooting video footage on Instagram and stuff. I'm trying to get used to that. I don't have no videographer or anything like that, or whatever you call it. I'm trying to learn how to do all this on my own. So like I said, if it start out rocky, you see mistakes, or you hear mistakes in my talking and conversation and stuff, don't hold it against me. Just give me the guidance. If I'm doing something wrong, hey, hit me on my DM like, hey man, I heard your podcast and it sounded distorted, or it sounded muffled, or I think you should do this, I think you should do that. I'm willing to listen to all that, because like I said again, I'm learning, and I want to be able to put out the best quality for the listeners, so you guys won't be irritated when y'all listen to these podcasts, because I want it to be clear. I want my words and my speech to come out clear. I want you guys to be able to understand me clearly, and I want to be able to understand you clearly. So when you call in, I don't want a lot of static and background noise and everything. I want everybody to be able to just understand what's being said on this podcast. So with that being said, we go cut this first one short at 20 minutes. I didn't want to go, to no 30-minute podcast, because I know people got things to do, and a lot of us can't just sit and listen to no 30-minute podcast. So it's like, okay, we go figure this out. 20 minutes will be enough, and we go do it like that. All right, I'll holler at y'all later.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Do You Ride? We hope you enjoyed the ride as much as we did. If you're craving for more motorcycle adventures, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. Connect with us on social media. We'd love to hear your stories, your favorite rides, and what makes you feel alive on two wheels. Don't forget to spread the love by sharing our podcast with your fellow riders and friends who appreciate the sweet symphony of a well-tuned engine. Until next time, keep the rubber side down, the throttle wide open, and remember, no matter where life takes you, always ask, do you ride?